Maya Lu stepped off the transport ship and onto the metal floor of Nexus Prime. The space station was huge, much bigger than anything she had seen before. Through the wide windows, she could see the planet Kethvar spinning slowly below them. It looked dark and dangerous, with red storms swirling across its surface. She was only 28 years old and barely 5 feet 2 inches tall. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and she carried a small bag with her research tools. Maya had dreamed of this moment for years. She was finally here, ready to study the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. "You must be the human," a deep voice rumbled behind her. Maya turned around and looked up, way up. The creature standing in front of her was massive. It had gray skin like stone, with thick muscles and scars all over its body. 2 yellow eyes stared down at her from a face that looked like it was carved from rock. This was Commander Zakthul, a Vorthak warrior who led the research team. "Yes, I'm Dr. Maya Liu," she said, trying to sound confident. "I'm here to study the wildlife on Kethvar." Zakthul made a sound that might have been laughing, but it sounded more like rocks grinding together. "You? Study the apex predators of Kethvar? Little human? The creatures down there would eat you before you could blink." Other aliens gathered around them. Maya saw tall crystal-like beings called Zephyrians. Their bodies looked like they were made of living glass, and they moved with smooth, flowing motions. There were also Grex engineers, thick and heavy creatures with 4 arms each. They all stared at Maya like she was some kind of strange pet. "Commander," one of the Zephyrians said in a voice like wind chimes, "surely the human female is here for data analysis only. She cannot be expected to work with dangerous specimens." Maya felt her face get hot with anger, but she kept quiet. She had dealt with this before. Everyone always thought humans were weak and helpless. It didn't matter that she had studied dangerous animals her whole life or that she had 3 degrees in xenobiology. "I'm qualified for this mission," Maya said firmly. "I've studied predator behavior for 10 years. "Predator behavior?" Zakthul's eyes gleamed with what looked like amusement. "Human, your species has only been in space for a few decades. We Vorthak have been warriors for thousands of years. The Grex have built machines that could crush your entire planet. The Zephyrians can read minds and see the future. What could your weak little species possibly know about real predators?" Maya wanted to argue, but she knew it would be useless. She had read about the other species before coming here. The Vorthak were known throughout the galaxy as the best fighters. Their homeworld was covered in dangerous creatures, and every Vorthak learned to fight from the time they could walk. The Zephyrians had mental powers that humans couldn't even imagine. The Grex were so strong they could lift starships with their bare hands. Compared to them, humans did look weak and small. "Where is the other human?" Maya asked, changing the subject. "Dr. Kevin Walsh is in the biology lab," Zakthul said. "He knows his place. He stays in the safe areas and does simple work. You would be wise to follow his example." A Grex engineer with dark blue skin stepped forward. His name tag said Korvac. He had kind eyes, which was unusual for his species. "Dr. Liu," Korvac said in a voice like distant thunder, "I have read your research papers. Your work on Earth predators is quite interesting. Perhaps you could help with our computer analysis?" Maya smiled gratefully. At least someone had read her work. "Thank you. I'd be happy to help with whatever you need." "Computer analysis," Zakthul snorted. "Yes, that is perfect work for a human. Safe and simple." Maya was shown to her small quarters and then to the biology lab. Dr. Kevin Walsh was there, a thin man in his 40s with tired eyes. He looked up when Maya entered and gave her a weak smile. "Welcome to the team," Kevin said, but his voice was flat. "How was your meeting with Commander Zakthul?" "About what I expected," Maya replied. "They think humans are useless," Kevin nodded. "I've been here for 6 months. They barely listen to anything I say. I've learned to just keep my head down and do the basic work they give me." Maya looked around the lab. It was impressive, with equipment she had never seen before. There were screens showing data from the planet below, images of creatures moving through dark forests and deep oceans. Some of the animals looked familiar, like the big cats and sharks from Earth. Others were completely alien, with too many teeth and eyes in the wrong places. "The work is important," Kevin continued. "We're mapping the ecosystem of Kethvar. It's one of the most dangerous planets ever discovered. Some of the creatures down there are bigger than buildings. Others are so fast they can't be seen with normal eyes. And a few are smart enough to use tools and set traps." Maya studied the screens with growing excitement. This was why she had come here. These creatures were the ultimate test of everything she had learned about predator behavior. "Have you been down to the planet?" Maya asked. Kevin shook his head quickly. "Oh no. Humans aren't allowed on the surface. Too dangerous. We work from up here using remote sensors and robot cameras." Maya felt disappointed but not surprised. Of course they wouldn't let the weak humans go where the real action was. Over the next few days, Maya settled into her routine. She watched the screens, analyzed data, and wrote reports that nobody seemed to read. The alien team members were polite but distant. They talked to each other in their own languages and made important decisions without asking for human input. Maya noticed things, though. She saw patterns in how the predators moved and hunted. She recognized behaviors that reminded her of animals from Earth. She wrote careful notes about everything she observed, even though she knew the others probably wouldn't care about her theories. During mealtimes, Maya sat alone or with Kevin. The aliens ate at different tables and talked about things like battle strategies and engineering problems. They rarely looked in the humans' direction, but Maya was patient. She had been underestimated her whole life, and she had learned to prove herself through her work rather than her words. She watched, she learned, and she waited for her chance to show what humans could really do. She didn't know that her chance would come sooner than anyone expected, and it would involve the most dangerous predator the galaxy had ever seen. The alarm bells started ringing at 3 a.m, station time. Maya woke up instantly, her heart pounding. Red lights flashed in her small room and a voice spoke over the communication system. "All personnel report to emergency stations. Unknown massive life form approaching the station. This is not a drill." Maya quickly put on her uniform and ran to the main command center. The room was full of aliens rushing around, checking computers and talking in loud, worried voices. The big screens on the walls showed radar images of something huge moving toward them through space. Commander Zakthul stood in the center of the room, his stone-like face calm but serious. His yellow eyes studied the screens as data flowed across them. "Report," he commanded. A Zephyrian named Veltar stepped forward. Her crystal body was glowing brighter than usual, which meant she was stressed. "The object is approximately 200 meters in length. Mass readings are off our scales. It appears to be biological rather than mechanical." Maya pushed through the crowd to get a better look at the screens. The creature on the radar was enormous, bigger than some of the smaller ships in the human fleet. But what caught her attention was how it moved. The movements weren't random or aggressive. There was a pattern to them, almost like a dance. "Energy readings?" Zakthul asked. A Grex engineer named Thurok checked his instruments. "Massive bioelectric field. The creature is generating more power than our main engines. But the strange thing is the power seems to be focused outward, not inward." Maya frowned. That was odd. Most creatures use their bioelectric energy for internal functions like movement and thinking. If this creature was directing its energy outward, it might be trying to communicate. Could it be trying to talk to us? Maya asked. The room went quiet for a moment. Then several aliens turned to look at her with expressions that ranged from annoyed to amused. "Humans," Zakthul said with that grinding laugh of his, "always thinking everything wants to be friends. This is clearly a predator, drawn to our station by the energy we give off. Combat stations, everyone." Maya wanted to argue, but she knew it would be useless. She watched as the Vorthak warriors grabbed their plasma weapons and the Grex engineers started charging up the station's defense systems. The Zephyrians began preparing evacuation procedures, their crystal bodies flickering as they used their mental powers to coordinate. Dr. Kevin Walsh appeared at Maya's side. He looked scared, his face pale and his hands shaking. "What do you think it is?" he whispered. Maya looked at the screens again. The creature was still approaching, but slowly. If it wanted to attack, why wasn't it moving faster? "I think it's lost," Maya said. "Look at the way it's moving. It's searching for something." Kevin followed her gaze to the movement patterns on the screen. "You could be right. But what would something that big be searching for?" Before Maya could answer, another alarm started ringing. This one was different, higher and more urgent. "New contact," Veltar announced, her voice tight with fear. "Something else is coming. Much bigger than the first one." The screens changed to show a new radar image. Maya felt her breath catch in her throat. The second creature was massive, maybe 3 times the size of the first one, but more than that, the way it moved was completely different. Where the first creature moved in gentle, searching patterns, this one moved with deadly purpose. It was hunting. Energy readings on the second contact? Zakthul demanded. Thurok's 4 hands flew over his controls. Incredible. This one is generating 10 times more power than the first creature. And Commander, all of that power is focused internally. This is a combat configuration. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She had studied enough predators to recognize the difference between a searching animal and a hunting one. The first creature was looking for something. The second creature had found what it was looking for. Commander, Maya said urgently, I think the first creature is in danger. The second one is a predator and it's hunting the first one. Zakthul barely looked at her. Nonsense. They are probably working together. Pack hunters, we need to prepare for coordinated attack. Maya shook her head. No, you don't understand. Look at the bioelectric patterns. The first creature is sending out distress signals. Those energy pulses aren't threats, they're calls for help. Several aliens turned to stare at her again. This time their expressions were more annoyed than amused. Dr. Liu, Beltar said in her wind chime voice, you have been here for less than a week. We have studied dangerous creatures for years. Perhaps you should leave the analysis to those with more experience. Maya felt her face get hot with frustration. I've studied predator behavior my whole life. I know what distress signals look like and I know what hunting behavior looks like. That second creature is going to kill the first one and then it's going to come after us. Enough, Zakthul commanded. His voice was like a rock slide. You are here to do data analysis, not tactical planning. Warriors will handle warrior business, Maya wanted to scream. She could see what was about to happen as clearly as if it was written in the air. The first creature was young or injured or lost. It was calling for help or trying to find its family. The second creature was an apex predator drawn by those calls. It would kill the first creature and then it would investigate the space station that had been watching. On the screens, the two creatures were getting closer to each other. The first one seemed to sense the danger and was trying to move away, but it wasn't fast enough. The second one was closing in with the steady patience of a true hunter. Warning, the computer announced. Creatures will make contact in approximately 4 minutes. Maya watched helplessly as her worst fears started to come true. The aliens around her were preparing for a battle, but they were preparing for the wrong kind of battle. They thought they would be fighting two creatures working together. In reality, they would soon be facing one creature that had just killed another creature and was still hungry for violence. Dr. Linda Rodriguez, the station's medical officer, appeared next to Maya. Linda was a calm woman in her 50s who had always been kind to the human members of the team. You really think the first creature is harmless? Linda asked quietly. Maya nodded. I think it's scared. Maybe it's young and got separated from its family. Maybe it's injured and looking for a safe place. But those energy pulses match patterns I've seen in dozens of species back on Earth. When animals are in trouble, they call for help in very specific ways. Linda studied the screens thoughtfully. And the second creature? Pure predator, Maya said. Look how it moves. No wasted energy, perfect efficiency. It's not exploring or searching. It's hunting. And when it's done with the first creature, it's going to want to find out what that interesting energy source is. Maya pointed at the space station around them. Linda's face went pale. We need to tell the commander. Maya laughed bitterly. I tried. He thinks I'm just a weak human who doesn't understand how dangerous the universe really is. On the screens, the gap between the two creatures was closing fast. Maya could only watch and wait for the disaster she could see coming, but couldn't prevent contact. In 30 seconds, the computer announced. Maya held her breath and prepared to be proven right in the worst possible way. The moment of contact was nothing like what anyone expected. Instead of attacking the space station, the first creature stopped near Nexus Prime and began sending out complex patterns of bioelectric energy. The pulses were rhythmic and organized, clearly some form of communication. Maya watched the screens with growing excitement. It's trying to talk to us, she said to Linda Rodriguez. The Zephyrian communication specialist, Veltar, was working frantically at her station. Her crystal body was glowing as she used her mental powers to try to understand the creature's signals. I'm detecting organized patterns, Veltar announced. This appears to be an attempt at communication, but the language is unlike anything in our databases. Commander Zakthul crossed his massive arms. Could be a trick, trying to make us lower our defenses before the real attack begins. Maya studied the patterns on her screen. Something about them looked familiar. She had seen similar patterns before, but where? Then it hit her. The rhythms and frequencies were similar to the mating calls of Earth's whales, but modified. This wasn't a mating call, though. The emotional content was different. "I think it's asking for help," Maya said. "The pattern structure is similar to distress calls I've studied from Earth's ocean predators." Several aliens turned to look at her with annoyance. Maya was getting used to that reaction. "Dr. Liu," Commander Zakthul said slowly, "this creature is 200 meters long and could probably eat your entire home planet. It is not a whale." Maya felt her face get hot. "I know it's not a whale. I'm talking about universal patterns in communication. Many species use similar structures for similar emotions. Even if they evolved on different worlds, before anyone could respond, the second creature arrived. It came out of nowhere, moving so fast that the sensors barely tracked it. One moment the space around Nexus Prime was empty except for the first creature. The next moment a massive predator was attacking with deadly precision. Maya watched in horror as the second creature struck. It was even bigger than the sensors had indicated, easily 300 meters long and shaped like a living nightmare. Its body seemed to change form as it moved, shifting between solid matter and something else, something that could pass through space without following normal rules of physics. The first creature tried to flee, but it was too late. The predator wrapped around it like a snake, crushing and tearing with appendages that materialized from its shifting body. The death cries of the first creature created electromagnetic pulses so powerful that they damaged Nexus Prime's outer sensors. "Shields up," Zakthul roared. "All weapons, target the hostile." The space station's defensive systems came online, but Maya could already see that they wouldn't be enough. The creature that had just killed the first being was beyond anything the station's designers had planned for. "Commander," Maya called out desperately, "that thing is an apex predator. It's not going to stop with just one kill. It's going to investigate anything that looks like competition or prey." Zakthul was busy coordinating the defense, but Maya could see that he heard her. For the first time, there was uncertainty in his yellow eyes. The predator finished consuming the first creature, and then turned its attention to Nexus Prime. Maya could see it studying the station, analyzing it the way a shark studies a potential meal. "It's scanning us," Thurok the Grex engineer reported. "Some kind of bioelectric probe. It's learning about our defenses and our structure." Maya felt sick. This was exactly what she had feared would happen. The predator had been drawn by the distress calls of the first creature. Now it was investigating the area, looking for more prey or potential threats to eliminate. "Incoming," Veltar screamed. The creature moved toward the station with terrifying speed. Maya watched on the screens as it seemed to phase partially through solid matter, making it almost impossible to target with conventional weapons. The station's plasma cannons fired, sending streams of superheated energy toward the predator. Some of the shots hit, but they barely seemed to slow it down. The creature's body absorbed the energy or deflected it, adapting to each attack. "Conventional weapons are ineffective," Thurok reported. "The creature is changing its physical properties to counter our attacks." Maya studied the creature's movement patterns with growing dread. This wasn't just a big, dangerous animal. This was an intelligent apex predator that could adapt to any threat. It had probably survived by being the ultimate hunter in its environment, and now it was treating the space station like just another piece of prey. "Dr. Liu." Linda Rodriguez appeared at Maya's side. "You predicted this. What else can you tell us about this thing?" Maya looked at the screens, trying to push down her fear and think like the scientist she was. "It's not just attacking randomly. Look at how it moves. It's systematic, methodical. It's studying our defenses while it attacks, learning how we respond." "Can we communicate with it like we tried with the first creature?" Linda asked. Maya shook her head. "Different type entirely. The first creature was probably a juvenile or a non-aggressive adult. This one is a pure predator. It doesn't want to talk. It wants to hunt." On the screens, the creature had reached the station's outer hull. Maya watched in fascination and terror as it began to change shape again, making itself smaller and denser so it could squeeze through spaces that should have been too small for something its size. "Hull breach on Deck 7, the computer announced. "Emergency containment fields activated." "How is that possible?" Zakthul demanded. "The creature is 300 meters long." Maya was studying the sensor readings. "It's not solid matter as we understand it. It can compress itself and change density. That's how it phases through our defenses. The station shook as the creature moved through the outer sections. Maya could hear the groaning of metal and the hiss of air escaping through damaged seals. All combat teams to Deck 7, Zakthul commanded. He grabbed his plasma rifle and headed for the door. Time to show this thing what Vorthak warriors can do. Maya wanted to call out a warning, but she knew it wouldn't matter. The aliens were about to face something that their weapons and tactics weren't designed for. This creature had probably been the apex predator on its world for thousands of years. It knew how to kill things that were bigger, stronger, and better armed than itself. On the security screens, Maya watched the Vorthak warriors take positions in the corridor outside the hull breach. They were brave and skilled, but Maya could see that they were thinking of this as a normal battle. They expected to face an enemy that followed familiar rules. The creature that was now hunting through their station didn't follow any rules at all. "Linda," Maya said quietly, "I think we need to start evacuating non-essential personnel. This is going to get much worse before it gets better." Linda nodded and began speaking into her communication device, calling medical staff and civilian researchers to emergency evacuation stations. Maya stayed at her screens, watching and learning. If they were going to survive this, someone needed to understand how this creature thought and moved. And unfortunately, she was starting to realize that she might be the only person on the station who was thinking about this problem the right way. The screaming started 3 minutes after the Vorthak warriors engaged the creature. Maya watched the security feeds in horror as the station's best fighters were thrown around like toys. The creature had adapted to their plasma weapons within seconds, its body becoming reflective in some places and absorptive in others. Worse, it seemed to learn from each attack, getting better at predicting and countering their moves. Commander Zakthul's voice crackled over the communication system. Fall back. Conventional tactics are useless against this thing." On the screens, Maya could see the creature moving through the corridors like liquid death. It flowed around obstacles, shifted its size to fit through spaces, and struck with appendages that appeared and disappeared as needed. It wasn't just hunting the warriors. It was playing with them. "Hull breaches on Deck 6, 7, and 8, the computer announced. Structural integrity at 70% and falling. Dr. Linda Rodriguez was coordinating the evacuation of civilian personnel, but Maya could see the fear in her eyes. The creature was moving too fast, adapting too quickly. At this rate, it would be through the entire station in less than an hour. Maya studied the creature's movement patterns on her screens. There had to be something, some weakness or blind spot that could be exploited, but every time she thought she saw a pattern, the creature changed its behavior. Kevin Walsh stumbled into the command center, his face pale and his uniform torn. "The thing is in the research section. It's systematically hunting through every room." Maya looked at the security feeds from the research decks. Kevin was right. The creature wasn't just randomly destroying things. It was methodically searching each room, following scent trails and heat signatures. It was hunting with intelligence and purpose. It's tracking people, Maya realized. Look at how it moves. It's following the paths that the evacuation teams took. Linda Rodriguez appeared next to Maya, breathing hard. "We've got most of the civilian staff to the escape pods, but the creature is between us and the main evacuation bay. It's like it knows where we're trying to go." Maya felt a chill. If the creature was that smart, then it wasn't just hunting randomly. It was trying to trap them. On the screens, Maya watched as a group of Zephyrian researchers tried to use their mental powers against the creature. Their crystal bodies flared with psychic energy, attempting to confuse or disorient the predator. For a moment, the creature stopped moving. Then it released a sound that Maya felt as much as heard. It was like standing next to a massive engine. But the vibration seemed to come from inside her own bones. On the screens, she watched the Zephyrians collapse, their crystal bodies flickering and going dark. "Psychic scream," Linda said grimly. "It just overloaded their mental defenses." The sound continued, and Maya realized it was affecting more than just the Zephyrians. Throughout the station, Grek's engineers were stumbling around in confusion, their four-armed bodies shaking. The sound was somehow interfering with their coordination systems. Maya grabbed her emergency research kit and started moving toward the damaged sections of the station. Kevin caught her arm. "Where are you going?" "It's suicide out there." Maya pulled free. "There's a group of researchers trapped in Lab 7. The creature is moving toward them and they have no way out." Kevin stared at her. "Maya, you can't fight that thing. You're just a human." Maya looked back at him with determination she didn't know she possessed. Maybe that's exactly what I need to be. She made her way through the damaged corridors, her small size allowing her to crawl through collapsed passages that would have stopped the larger aliens. The creature's psychic scream was still echoing through the station, but somehow it affected Maya less than it affected the others. Maybe humans were too simple mentally to be completely overwhelmed by it. As she moved through the wreckage, Maya studied everything she could see of the creature's behavior. It left strange marks on the walls where it passed, almost like burn patterns but different. The metal wasn't melted. It was changed, restructured at the molecular level. She also noticed that the creature's path wasn't completely random. It seemed to avoid certain areas and prefer others. Maya realized it was following electromagnetic patterns, moving along the station's power conduits and communication lines. That gave her an idea. Maya reached Lab 7 just as the creature was flowing through the outer wall. Inside the lab, she could see Dr. Rodriguez and 3 other researchers huddled behind an overturned table. The creature was taking its time, moving slowly as it savored the fear of its trapped prey. Maya had studied enough predators to recognize the behavior. This was the moment when a hunter was most confident, most relaxed. It thought it had won. She opened her emergency kit and found the bioelectromagnetic pulse generator she used for studying creature behavior. It was designed to mimic the natural electrical patterns that animals used for communication and territory marking. Maya had used it to study everything from earth sharks to the electric eels of Proxima Centauri, but she had never tried to use it as a weapon. Maya studied the creature through the lab's broken doorway. Its body was shifting and flowing, but she could see patterns in the changes. There were moments when it became more solid, more focused. Those were the moments when it was concentrating on its prey. She also noticed something else. The creature had blind spots. When it was focused on one thing, it seemed to lose awareness of its surroundings. Just like any predator that was concentrating on a kill, Maya adjusted the settings on her device, tuning it to frequencies that she hoped would trigger instinctive responses. She was gambling everything on the idea that some behaviors were universal, that predators across the galaxy shared certain basic instincts. She took a deep breath and stepped into the lab. The creature sensed her immediately and turned part of its attention toward her. Maya felt the weight of its alien intelligence studying her, analyzing her as a potential threat or prey item. For a moment, Maya was paralyzed by fear. The creature was even more terrifying up close. A living nightmare that defied every natural law she knew. Its presence seemed to drain the warmth from the air and make her bones ache. But then her scientific mind took over. She was looking at the ultimate predator, the apex hunter that had survived on a world more dangerous than anything humans had ever imagined. This was the test of everything she had learned about predator behavior. Maya activated her device and prepared to find out if humans really were as weak as everyone thought. Maya stepped into the lab and immediately felt the creature's full attention focus on her. The alien predator towered above her, its body shifting between states of matter like a living shadow. Multiple sensory organs that she couldn't begin to understand locked onto her small human form. Behind the overturned table, Dr. Rodriguez and the other researchers watched in terror as Maya walked calmly toward the most dangerous creature in known space. The creature studied her with alien intelligence. Maya could feel it analyzing her, trying to determine if she was prey, predator, or something else entirely. She had perhaps 3 seconds before it made its decision. Maya activated her bioelectromagnetic pulse generator and began broadcasting on the frequency she had carefully calculated. The signal was based on patterns she had studied from Earth's most dangerous predators, but modified for what she hoped were universal submission signals. The creature froze. For a heartbeat that felt like an eternity, the lab was completely silent. The creature's shifting form became still, its multiple eyes fixed on Maya with an expression she couldn't read. Then Maya did something that made Dr. Rodriguez gasp in horror. She stepped closer to the creature. Maya had studied predator behavior her entire life, and she knew that this was the crucial moment. Fear would mark her as prey. Aggression would mark her as a threat to be eliminated. She needed to project something else entirely. She needed to project dominance. Maya looked directly into what she thought were the creature's main eyes and took another step forward. Every instinct in her body was screaming at her to run, to hide, to curl up in a corner and hope the monster would ignore her. But Maya had learned something from her years of studying apex predators on Earth. The most dangerous predators were often the ones that looked harmless. Humans had evolved on a world full of creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than they were. Humans had survived not by being the biggest predators, but by being the smartest ones. They had learned to hunt in packs, use tools, and most importantly, they had learned to project confidence even when they were terrified. Maya raised her chin and stared at the creature with the steady gaze of an apex predator. She kept her breathing slow and controlled, despite the fact that her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode. She made herself stand tall despite the fact that she barely came up to what might have been the creature's knee. The creature's form shifted and rippled. Maya could see it trying to understand what she was. Her bioelectromagnetic signature was all wrong for a prey animal. She wasn't broadcasting fear or submission. Instead, her device was sending out the complex patterns that marked an alpha predator in its prime. But more than that, Maya was behaving like an alpha predator. She wasn't backing down. She wasn't showing fear. She was claiming territory through body language that transcended species barriers. On Earth, Maya had once stared down a 16-foot great white shark while doing research in a diving cage. The shark had studied her for almost a full minute before deciding she wasn't prey and swimming away. Maya had learned that day that confidence could be more powerful than size or strength. Now she was testing that theory against the ultimate apex predator. The creature took a step backward. Maya felt a surge of hope mixed with terror. It was working. The creature was recognizing her as something other than prey, but she couldn't stop now. If she showed any weakness, any sign that her confidence was fake, the creature would attack instantly. Maya took another step forward, maintaining eye contact. She kept her bioelectromagnetic device broadcasting the alpha predator signals while she projected every ounce of confidence she had ever possessed. The creature retreated another step, its form becoming more solid and defined. Maya realized that this was probably its defensive posture, the way it appeared when it wasn't sure if it was facing a threat. "That's right," Maya said quietly, her voice steady despite her fear. "I'm not prey. I'm not something you can just hunt and kill. I'm an apex predator just like you." The creature tilted what might have been its head, studying her with what Maya hoped was curiosity rather than hunger. Maya thought about Earth, about the long history of human survival against impossible odds. Humans had faced cave bears and saber-toothed cats. They had survived ice ages and volcanic eruptions. They had looked at the vast darkness of space and decided to explore it. Humans didn't survive because they were the strongest or the fastest. They survived because they were too stubborn to give up and too clever to fight fair. Maya projected that stubbornness now. She let the creature see that she was not just another frightened prey animal. She was a representative of a species that had clawed its way to the top of the food chain on a world full of things that wanted to eat them. The creature made a sound, low and rumbling. Maya felt it in her bones, but it was different from the psychic scream it had used before. This sound was questioning, almost cautious. Maya realized that the creature was trying to communicate with her. It was asking in its own alien way who and what she was. Maya smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that predators gave to other predators when they were establishing territory boundaries. "I'm human," Maya said clearly, "and humans don't back down." The creature studied her for another long moment. Then incredibly it began to back away toward the hole it had made in the lab wall. Maya maintained her stance and her steady gaze until the creature had completely withdrawn from the lab. Only when she was sure it was gone did she allow herself to collapse against the wall, her legs shaking with exhaustion and leftover adrenaline. Dr. Rodriguez crawled out from behind the overturned table, her face pale with shock. "How?" Linda whispered. "How did you do that?" Maya looked at her bioelectromagnetic device and then at the hole where the creature had disappeared. "I reminded it that humans got to where we are by being the scariest thing on our planet," she said. "We just don't look scary because we've learned to be civilized." Over the station's communication system, Commander Zachthel's voice crackled with amazement. "The creature is withdrawing. It's leaving the station and moving away from our position. How is this possible?" Maya picked up a communication device from the debris. "Commander, this is Dr. Liu. The creature has been convinced that we are not prey. It's leaving because it recognizes superior predators when it sees them." There was a long silence over the communication system. "Superior predators?" Zachthol's voice was confused. Dr. Liu, you are a small human. How could you convince that monster that humans are superior predators? Maya looked around the destroyed lab, thinking about Earth's long history of survival. Commander, humans didn't get to be spacefaring by being weak. We got here by being the most dangerous thing on a planet full of dangerous things. We just learned to hide it behind politeness and diplomacy. She paused, watching through the hole as the creature moved away into the darkness of space. That thing was an apex predator on its world, Maya continued. But humans are apex predators on every world we visit. We just don't usually have to prove it. Later, as the station's crew worked to repair the damage, Maya found herself surrounded by aliens who looked at her with new respect. Commander Zachthoul approached her, his yellow eyes thoughtful. Dr. Liu, he said formally, I believe I owe you an apology. I underestimated both you and your species. Maya nodded. Most people do. Humans look harmless because we've learned that civilization works better than violence. But when civilization fails, we remember how we survived long enough to build it in the first place. Zachthoul was quiet for a moment. What you did back there, facing that creature alone, that was the act of a true apex predator. Maya smiled, this time with genuine warmth instead of predatory confidence. Commander, every human is an apex predator. We just prefer to use our intelligence instead of our teeth. But when we have to choose between dying and fighting, we'll always choose to fight. She looked out at the stars, thinking about Earth and the billions of humans who had no idea that their species had just established itself as the apex predators of the galaxy. The creature understood that, Maya said. It recognized something in me that it had never seen before. A predator that had evolved beyond the need to look dangerous but still remembered how to be dangerous when necessary. Maya realized that this would change everything. Word would spread throughout the galaxy that humans were not the weak, harmless species that everyone had assumed. They were something far more dangerous. Apex predators who had learned to hide their true nature behind smiles and diplomacy. And sometimes, that was the most terrifying kind of predator of all.